Yo everybody, what's up? This is your girl Dragon. It's time for another live help session, this time for the Creative Blok. We're going to be helping out Light. He has a very unique, really cool game setup that requires a save device, and he's been having some issues with putting that together. Looks like I did suggest to him that he could use the checkpoint pad so that players can continue to spawn on the same team. So I'm going to go ahead and show him what I put together so that he can see that the system is working. And if this is what he wants, then I'm going to go through all the settings there, and hopefully he'll be able to get back on track so he can finish this project. So let me go ahead and run a play test so you guys can see what this is all about, and then I can explain the structure, and then we can jump into the settings. So let's do it. Alright, when players start, they are on the global team. I have a 2-second timer that then saves this global team and loads it when the game is over. When the game is over, they're going to spawn back here at this teleporter. Now, when players spawn into the game, there's a pre-game area where they can choose their teams, either Team 1 or Team 2. No matter which team they choose, they're going to be teleported to the game area, which you can see over there. So let's go ahead and jump into Team 2. I am now Team 2, check it out, right? And I'm here in the game area. I can choose to go into the game, and if I am eliminated, I should remain on Team 2, and I'm going to respawn back on that checkpoint pad, and I am still on Team 2. Now if I keep going back into the game, and I am eliminated again, I'm going to still be on Team 2 because I'm respawning on the checkpoint pad. Keep in mind, the checkpoint pad does not save teams. It's only a respawn point, and it only saves and respawns you when you're eliminated. So I am still on Team 2. So let's say I go and I make some eliminations. So I need 3 eliminations to complete 1 round. And I did that. Alright, players are teleported back here and the game ends, and they're coming back to start. They're coming back, and that team that they had when they first started is loaded back up, and they're back on the global team, and they can start the loop all over again. You can do this without an in-game device to create an everlasting game that goes over and over and over. And when players spawn in and they join in progress, you can just put your spawn pads here, and they all start here and continue the loop over and over. So that's the structure so far. Let's go ahead and jump into the settings so you guys can see what's going on here. Alright, so for devices that I use, you can see here, and I have quite a bit here. So let's first start off. Of course, I have my player spawner. You're going to need teleporters, a timer device, a save point device, and class designer, team setting, and inventory for each team. I have Team 1, Team 2, and I have a global team. You're going to need, again, class selectors for your Team 1 and Team 2, a teleporter for your game area, another teleporter for when the round ends, a timer, a channel device, and this is actually something new that I'm using. Instead of using the Mutator zone to teleport the players, I am using the channel device. This needs to be tested with more than 1 player, so I am going to go in later and test it with an additional player just to make sure that it does work. And Light, if you do try this, let me know if it works for you. If not, we'll have to implement a Mutator zone again. But this is just something new I was trying out, and since it worked quite well, I was like, yo, that's pretty cool. So I included it here. You're going to need a checkpoint pad, and this is just for testing purposes, but you're going to need a tracker, of course, and you're going to need a round tracker. This is to test eliminations, and this is to teleport them back. So you're going to need a Mutator zone in the area that they're fighting in to teleport them back to this area. So just to explain what everything's doing, player is spawned, a 2-second timer starts, and then it saves the player to the global team. Player then can choose whatever team they want. Once they choose a team, they're teleported to the game area. When they're teleported, they're registered to the checkpoint pad. They can then go and do whatever they like. If they complete 3 eliminations, the first round ends and they're teleported back here. Everyone is teleported back. There's a timer that says game is ending, and when that game ends, they're going to be teleported back here to the pregame area or your game lobby to start the process over. They're going to be switched back to the global team. It's going to be loaded back up on the save device. Now, in this instance, you may not even need the save device for this. You can just drop them back into the global team by, when teleported, switch to team and class. But since Light is wanting to use the save point device, then this is also another way to do it. So now that you know the entire structure, I'm going to go ahead and jump through the settings and you guys can take a look. Let's first start with got a lot to start with. Let's first start with the global. Now this was pulled from a different tutorial, so I'm just going to go ahead and rename this correctly. This should be global. So my global is a team of 3 and a class of 3. All right, and those are the settings for that. There's no functions and there's no events. For the class selector, the class is 3 and the team is 3. For functions, we're going to enable when receiving from the teleporter restart on teleported. And we're disabling when they are teleported to the game. We're going to change player to team and class when receiving from the player spawner. Again, you can choose whatever event you want to place here where you want this to become active. And there's no events. The team and setting configurations, you have to ensure that the team is set to 3 and the class is also set to 3, and everything else you would like to place you can put here. There's no functions and there's no events. Team 1 you can see is Team 1 and Class 1 and so forth. Again, everything else is optional depending on what you want to put here. No functions, no events. And Team 1 and Class 1. So make sure you do the same for your Team 2 as well. And this should be Class 2. There we go. Alright, all good. Next is the player spawner. So this is going to be my pre-game as well, so I am using it as island start. And for events, we have quite a few things going on here. When the players spawn, I have them to change to the global team and class. I want it to also enable the teleporter restart. We're also going to start the global saver timer. And we're going to save the player and load the player. Now, why are we loading the player? That's because if someone joins in progress and they're joining the game and they haven't been in the game before, then it's going to load the progress that's been saved already to this device. And that will just place them back onto the global team. However, I feel in that case, when they join in progress, like I said, this is like an optional step. You can always have it changed to team and class just by them spawning here. But if you do want to use a save device in this way, this is the way that you can do it. Now I had to create a buffer because when the player spawns, I have it set on a 1 second spawn. And 1 second may not be enough time for the device to save. So I created a 2 second buffer that would send an event to save the player to lock in that state. So you can see my timer here set for 2 seconds. And everything else here, we're going to reset on completion behavior. But what's important here, we're going to start when receiving from the time they spawn. And on success, we're going to save the player. Then you can see this is set to gameplay only. We're not going to auto save because we're going to set our own save events. We're not going to auto load because we're going to set our own auto load events, and so forth. And I also have it only set to save teams and class. So again, save player when receiving from the player spawner, and timer device global save on success. We're going to load from the player spawner for players that are coming into the game, and also when they restart the game on teleport it. Yo Norn, what's up? Thank you so much for those bits. I appreciate it. And there's no events. Now this is my teleporter restart. This is where players come back to when the game has ended. So let's take a look at that. And I'm just going to go through here. What we're really looking at here is the functions. We're enabling this teleporter when the player spawns into the game. And again, you want to make sure you do that to your very first player spawn pad, because there's always going to be one player coming into the game. And then we're going to teleport when receiving from the channel device on a receive transmit. On teleport it, we're going to send an event to the class selector global to enable. We're going to reset the progress for the tracker round, and we're also going to load the player so they can go back onto the global team. Next, we have class selectors for Team 1 and Team 2. And I think Light has this set up already, but if you're just watching this and you're not quite sure, I'm going to go ahead and go through the settings here for you. I have it set to Class 1, Team 1. And any player that runs through this device, runs through that zone, is going to be switched to Team 1. There's no functions. And when the team is switched, and only when the team is switched, we're going to teleport, right? So we're going to teleport them to the game teleporter, and we have a round ending teleporter here. And for Team 2, we have class to switch to Team 2 and Team 2 as well. And then for the functions, or I'm sorry, for the events, we have teleporter game teleport and teleporter round ending teleport. And you know what I'm going to do actually? That, I think because I duplicated that teleporter, it still shows up here. For the round ending, let's go ahead and just take that off, because we don't want them to go there. We just want them to go to the game itself. So that completes that, because this is where we want them to go. So let's go ahead and take a look at this teleporter. This will bring them right into the game as soon as they switch their teams. And for functions, we're going to teleport when receiving from class selector on team switch. That's for team 1, and for team 2 on team switched. When teleported, we're going to send an event to disable the class selector global, to register them on the checkpoint pad. We're going to assign a tracker to them to keep track of what's going on. Yo, what's up, Sinport? We're going to disable the Mutator zone device. And we're going to assign a round tracker as well. So we're assigning an elimination tracker as well as a round tracker and so forth. I have this here for a fail-safe because when I was testing, it wasn't assigning, so I did assign as well as assign to all. So you do see this duplicate here. It is by design. And if you are finding the same thing is happening, you might have to do that as well. All right, the checkpoint pad, and that's the issue that Light was having some issues with. And while he was testing, he says the teams were not responding back properly. When they would be eliminated, they would respawn, but it was not working as it should. So these are the settings that I have, and they're quite simple. Register when they teleport into the game, and that's it. As soon as they are teleported, they're registered to this pad. You can also place the pad right underneath the teleporter device so that when they land on it, they are registered to it. And when they're eliminated, they will respawn right back. Now, once you connect that, you can actually move these pads anywhere and they will respawn wherever you want. So if I was to move this pad like way over there, when we run the game, they're going to respawn when eliminated way over there. So just keep that in mind. All right, next we have the channel device. And this is actually something new that I put into this, like I stated here a bit ago. I had initially a mutator zone up here, and you see I have one there. And this mutator zone was supposed to enable at a certain event to teleport players back to the game lobby or pre-game lobby. However, there were some issues with that. So I improvised and I used a channel device, and first time using it, and it actually was pretty cool workaround. So if you're having issues with your Mutator device, maybe this might be a workaround for you. So let's check it out. What's the best way to find someone good at Verse to collab on a game? Question from Simport in the chat. Great question. Everyone's learning Verse, so I think everyone right now is on the same, slate. We're on the same journey together. The best way, you can definitely check the EDC. There's tons of information on there, and you got to get in there and start taking advantage of those tutorials. Give yourself an hour a day just to go through the basics of those tutorials, and eventually you're going to be able to catch on. It's going to be a journey, so be ready for it, because everyone's on that journey together. It's such a brand new programming language that the only best way you can find someone to learn is to learn together. So that's kind of like the best advice I can provide to you. A lot of trial and error, and don't let the error discourage you. Let it encourage you to do more and to do and to learn more, because that's what it's about. So we're going to transmit when receiving from tracker round when complete, and timer device on success. And then for events, on receive transmit, we're going to send an event to teleport or restart to teleport. Now we have a buffer here. This timer device is basically when they complete all the rounds, they're teleported here, and a 3-second timer starts and game is ending. So that's what this is for. And this is optional. You don't really have to do this. I find it's best because it gives the devices time to react and time to do what they need to do. So I have this starting from when they teleport to the round ending teleporter, which is right here. And there's nothing else there. For events, when it's successful, we're going to send a transmission to the channel device to teleport the player back to the beginning of the game. All right, let's take a look at the teleporter round ending. Let's see here. Pretty standard stuff. And teleport when receiving from, Mutator zone when player entering the zone. And on teleporter, send event to timer device. We're going to start this timer so they can go. Let's see, Simport says, I agree. I learned how to, oh, and I don't have my stream up next to me, so let me go ahead and catch that comment so I can see what it says. I see. Yeah, dude, you'll get it. You'll definitely get it. It's probably like one little thing to help them like scale the way you want to, and you'll be good to go. All right, so this area here represents like the gameplay area where players will play and do the stuff that they do. If there's an elimination made, I have this trigger here just to act as an elimination made by the player. So in your instance, like in your game, and again, I am directing this to Light since this tutorial here is for him, and everyone else as well. You won't have this trigger, so just keep in mind this is just for tutorial purposes. But the trackers, if you don't have them and if you want to implement those, I'd highly recommend. So let's take a look at those. We have tracker limbs, and this is kind of branches from my other tutorial on creating rounds within rounds. This is set for eliminations and with a target value of 3. Once a player reaches that target amount, or I can say the first player to that target amount will basically end the first round. So we're going to reset the progress from tracker limb when complete. So it's going to reset itself. And then it's going to increment the progress when receiving from the trigger. However, that won't be there in a live game. It's going to basically increment when they eliminate another player. It's assigning to all when they're teleported into the game. And when complete, we're going to send an event to, of course, reset the progress, enable the Mutator zone device, and increment the progress of the tracker for the round tracker, right, which is right here. Now, once there's 3 limbs, I have this set for testing purposes to one event. So one targeted amount or of 3 eliminations will complete 1 round. Basically, that's what that's saying right there. So we're going to set it to track events with a target value of 1 and so forth. And hopefully that's not too fast. Let me go back. I think that was a little too fast. All right, and then for functions, we're going to reset the progress when receiving from the teleporter restart on teleported, increment the progress when receiving from the tracker limb when it's complete, and assign when receiving from, of course, when they're teleported into the game, and assign to all when they're teleported to the game as a failsafe, and so forth. When complete, we're going to send an event to the channel device to transmit and so forth. Now that's this right here. Let's see here. So we have 2 transmissions here as a failsafe. And I have that because when I was initially testing, and this was sending something to the channel device, it wasn't quite working. When I added that buffer, it was quite well. So you can actually remove this since it's going to be triggered here. Because this is sending them back to the restart teleporter, which is over there. And then the other part here is the mutator zone. So you want to make sure it's set to enabled on phase none. And that's the most important part. Everything else is optional. You can turn off VFX if you don't want it. And then for functions, we're going to disable when receiving from the teleporter game. When they're teleported into the game, you want to make sure that it's not active, but we want to make sure it is active when the tracker elim is complete, because once they reach those 3 eliminations, you want to send them right back to that game lobby to go ahead and go back into the game and play again, or be teleported once the round ends back over there. And you can see here on player entering zone, teleport to round ending, teleport, which is right here. And then they teleport here, timer starts, and then they're teleported over here to start the process over. So now that you've seen all the settings for that, we're going to run another test. Just as a refresher so you can kind of see what everything is doing. Alright, I'm switched to global, and now I am saved to global. And I can choose any team. I'll go ahead and choose team 2. I am now on team 2, and I'm in the game. I go and I am eliminated, and I am of course still on team 2. I go and I still don't do so well, and I am eliminated. I am of course still on team 2. And I go and I do quite well. And I'm the first to 3 eliminations. The round is ending. And I'm back to start. And I'm back to global. Players who join in progress are able to join this pregame spawner pad because it's set to island start, and they can come into the game and the loop will just continue. Player chooses team and they're eliminated. They stay on the same team as long as they stay within this vicinity, and the round doesn't end. And of course I am still on same team. And then if I do well, the game is ending, and then I go back to global to start over. Now, if you want to implement some type of random rounds and random locations, then if you're at this part of the progress in your game, you have to decide what event or what part of the game you would like to implement that event. And I think the best time to do that would either be when they choose their team and they are teleported here. You can start the RNG timer and it picks a round, and then they need to be teleported to that event. So you can have actually like a separate game lobby area and make it look really cool and whatnot, and just say picking level, right? And have it go ahead and run its course, and then when it picks a level, it teleports them there, but you still need to make all the main mechanics back here. They need to still come back here when the round ends, and then be teleported to the main area, back to pregame, back to start. And that's how you would implement something like that. I can definitely try to go ahead and implement that into a later tutorial, because I think that's what he's doing, but I have to double check. But I do hope this shows him how he can use the checkpoint pad in this fashion without having to use 2 save point devices to save teams, because you really don't need to do that when you're working with a checkpoint device. It's really cool, and you could do so much with it. All right, that's going to do it for this live help session, and I do hope this tutorial, for everyone's tuning in, I hope it helped you a bit, and if anyone else watches the video after, I hope it helps you as well. I'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Bye!